That's James's dinner, chocolate cake, and he's holding the copy of this book, pretty close to this book because it's just an earlier one. So this one here is it was put out in 1962, and that one's 1935. But honestly, I don't think there's really that much difference. We've only found one thing different so far, but we'll see how much.
In the last 30 years of life. I think he died in 65. He put out very few poems. He did put out a fair number of plays that were presumably in verse. Not very verse-like.
Well, and I mean, there's a little bit of that. Like,
yep.
There's, at our public library, I could have borrowed one that put his complete stuff out, including the plays.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
It must be a huge following. Well, fairly
pretty big.
Plays usually aren't that long.
Yeah, but where James and I are in the book here, we're starting something that seems like it's going to be a play.
Yeah, exactly right. This is not when we're reading on camera, but
we're
forging ahead because I'm telling you, we're so excited. No, we're not.
We're not excited about the
latter-day developments of T.S. Eliot's oeuvre. It's pretty sad after The Wasteland. In fact, The Wasteland is, despite some high moments, is pretty sad, and that's largely due to Ezra Pound's organization, or should I say disorganization, of the manuscripts that were kind of plopped in his lap.
So anyway, I guess James wants to
read well,
first.
I think I'll read out of this one. It's easier to hold.
Is it?
Well, see, it holds open, I think, a little bit better. Having a little trouble with my wrists, and I'd rather not stress them out.
There you are.
Moving around a lot of books and boxes and stuff like that.
Whew,
okay,
tired.
So this is the second entry in the volume Proofrock and Other Observations, put out in 1917. In that one as well. Okay? So, Portrait of a Lady, the epigraph is, "Thou hast committed fornication, but that was in another country, and besides, which is dead." It's from the Jew of Malta. I've forgotten who wrote that. I was thinking it was Christopher Marlowe, Kit Marlowe, early contemporary Shakespeare, but it might have been Webster, not Daniel Webster, John Webster, I think his name was, late contemporary of William Shakespeare, and this could have been someone else. There were a lot of playwrights contemporary with Shakespeare. Some of them quite good. Some of them perhaps even better than Shakespeare. For example, Marlowe. Did you get an insect bite there?
Well, I was thinking that I had a bug in here, but I don't.
Oh, just crawling around, generally.
Which is quite possible.
Yeah, and you probably want to save it because the temptation is to swat something.
Well, I don't kill them.
I know. I try not to.
My home is very different from most people's. James kept killing all the spiders at first in my house, and I was like, oh no, I let them live here.
Well, my attitude towards spiders is if they mind their own beeswax inside my house or whatever, that's okay. But when they start crawling on me or close to me,
and so I do end up with spider bites.
Yeah,
because
she's had spider bites. Yeah.
I'll fall asleep, they'll be on me. Yeah.
Spider bites can be quite annoying, and
they are annoying.
Every so occasionally they kill a person. So.
Well, they haven't killed me yet.
No, and you've gone through a lot of them because you'd get them at work, right, when you were doing shrubbery?
Oh, I don't know. No, I get them here.
Okay.
Get them this is where I get them when I'm sleeping. But, I've only found one. There are black widows in Lethbridge.
There used to be a lot of them. Fact is, there was a huge whack of them when I started taking. They had contract people working the police station the year before I worked there, and then I went in, and there weren't any more black widow spiders, from what I could tell. Inside, after a little while, I had to take care of them. They still were out in the places where they parked the police cars. They had a lot, and then they had covered kind of shed or lean-to, big one.
I was concerned at first because I did actually find one in this porch when the porch was open, when I didn't have a door on it, or windows, when I moved in. But after, once I made it livable and put a door and put the windows and stuff and kept it clean, I haven't had a problem. So haven't found any black widows in the house. So anyway, sorry.
Jew of Malta. Okay, among the small smoke and fog of a December afternoon, you have the scene arrange itself, as it will seem to do, with "I have saved this afternoon for you," and 4 wax candles in the darkened room, 4 rings of light upon the ceiling overhead, an atmosphere of Juliet's tomb, prepared for all the things to be said or left unsaid. We have been, let us say, to hear the latest Pole transmit the preludes through his hair and fingertips. So intimate, this Chopin, that I think his soul should be resurrected only among friends, some 2 or 3, who will not touch the bloom that is rubbed and questioned in the concert room. And so the conversation slips among velleities probably is how you pronounce that, and carefully caught regrets, through attenuated tones of violins mingled with remote cornets, and begins. You do not know how much they mean to me, my friends, and how rare and strange it is to find in a life composed so much of odds and ends, for indeed I do not love it. You knew, you are not blind. How keen you are to find a friend who has these qualities, who has and gives those qualities upon which friendship lives. How much it means that I say this to you. Without these friendships, life, what cauchemar! Among the windings of the violins and the ariettes of cracked cornets, inside my brain a dull tom-tom begins absurdly hammering a prelude of its own, capricious monotone that is at least one definite false note. Let us take the air in a tobacco trance, admire the monuments, discuss the late events, correct our watches by the public clocks, then sit for a half an hour and drink our box. That's part 1. Part 2 now. So, change in season, okay? The first one was what? November? December. Yeah. Now that lilacs are in bloom, she has a bowl of lilacs in her room, and twists one in her fingers while she talks. Ah, my friend, you do not know what life is, you who hold it in your hands, slowly twisting the lilac stalks. You let it flow from you, let it flow, and youth is cruel and has no remorse, and smiles at situations which it cannot see. I smile, of course, and go on drinking tea. Yet with these April sunsets that somehow recall my buried life and Paris in the spring, I feel immeasurably at peace, and find the world to be wonderful and youthful after all. The voice returns like an insistent, out of tune of a broken violin on an August afternoon. I am always sure that you understand my feelings, always sure that you feel, sure that across the gulf you reach your hand. You are invulnerable. You have no Achilles heel. You will go on, and when you have prevailed, you can say, at this point, many a one has failed. But what have I? But what have I, my friend, to give you? What can you receive from me? Only the friendship and the sympathy of one about to reach her journey's end. I shall sit here, serving tea to friends. I take my hat. How can I make a cowardly amends for what she has said to me? You will see me any morning in the park, reading the comics in the sporting page. Particularly, I remark, an English countess goes upon the stage, a Greek was murdered at a Polish dance, another bank defaulter is confessed. I keep my countenance. I remain self-possessed, except when a street piano, mechanical and tired, reiterates some worn-out common song with the smell of hyacinths across the garden, recalling things that other people have desired. Are these ideas right or wrong? Part 3. So that was 2 parts, I think. One was spring, one was summer. Now we're working our way around the calendar. It's getting to late October, it looks like. Late fall, October. The October night comes down. Returning as before, except for a slight sensation of being ill at ease, I mount the stairs and turn the handle of the door and feel as if I had mounted on my hands and knees. And so you are going abroad. And when do you return? But that's a useless question. You hardly know when you are coming back. You will find so much to learn. My smile falls heavily among the bric-a-brac. Perhaps you can write to me. My self-possession flares up for a second. This is as I had reckoned. I have been wondering frequently of late that our beginnings never know our ends. Why we have not developed into friends. I feel like one who smiles, and turning, shall remark suddenly his expression in the glass. My self-possession gutters. We are really in the dark. For everybody said so. All our friends, all were sure our feelings would relate so closely. I myself can hardly understand. We must leave it now to fate. You will write at any rate. Perhaps it is not too late. I shall sit here, serving tea to friends. And I must borrow every changing shape to find expression. Dance like a dancing bear. Cry like a parrot. Chatter like an ape. Let us take the air in a tobacco trance. Well, and what if she should die some afternoon? Afternoon gray and smoky, evening yellow and rose. Should die and leave me sitting pen in hand with the smoke coming down above the housetops, doubtful for a while, not knowing what to feel or if I understand, or whether wise or foolish, tardy or too soon. Would she not have the advantage after all? This music is successful with a dying fall. Now that we talk of dying, and should I have the right to smile?
All right, so we're going to talk about that one a little bit.
Yep.
Women had salons. An American woman, patron of the arts.
That's what I'm figuring. Someone in the United States, and a lot of people say.
You can tell that she's educated. And
appreciates art and stuff like that, and thinking and so on and so forth. Not that she would be a terribly great thinker herself necessarily. She might be.
And
not a lot of confidence.
We were talking yesterday, about some people who theorize that Eliot may have been gay, and apparently the Jew of Malta, by Christopher Marlowe.
I think just as my preparatory.
Okay. Well, Christopher Marlowe was
comments.
Apparently gay. Died in a duel. So maybe people, I really can't know why people would. Oftentimes you hear that, especially in quite recent times. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, this person is one of us, or whatever, right? So there's a lot of people, if they like somebody's artwork from before, when it wasn't so easy to come out of the closet. And
well, as Kermit once sang, Kermit the Frog, it's not easy being gay, or but it's not. I don't really want to make fun of that.
No. And so I think a lot of people, if they like something, then they think, oh, well, I can relate to this. I like this. So then maybe this person was like me. But I don't get that impression at all reading T.S. Eliot stuff. So sometimes you may like somebody's artwork and they may actually not think like you or be much like you at all, and that's okay. You know, you can still respect them as an artist. So anyway, starts in December, gray and brown, physical and emotional exhaustion, smoke and fog, and the number 4. I meant to look that up, but I haven't yet. So there
4
could be,
candles in a row.
yeah, there could be some meaning to that, which I didn't look up, so I can't tell you what I might think about that. But I think it's worth looking up. Someone like Chopin. So I don't know what I meant by that. Maybe.
Well, they'd been to see the Preludes.
Yeah.
And that's piano pieces by, or piano piece maybe. That's a better way to put it, by, I believe, Franz Liszt.
So what was I thinking when I wrote this? Maybe I was thinking, well, maybe he could relate to Chopin, or I don't know what. Anyway.
Well, it wasn't him saying, it was the woman saying.
Oh, maybe she could relate? I don't know, because I left it there. See, my notes are not... I wasn't planning on doing this, actually.
Well, one way to put this about this woman is some of these salon types were like intellectual groupies. I think that's the way he's looking at her.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well, I don't know what I meant by my comment. But
believe me, the cops, I worked at the cop shop, they, if there was a woman working in the support staff who they figured was a groupie, they were pretty dismissive. Mm-hmm. There was one that they really asked. They really misjudged her. Her dad had been a cop, right?
Oh.
She's kind of related to the cops. The person she ended up going after was the janitor.
That's funny.
But she was way too young, and whatever.
So,
anyway.
Cauchemar, nightmare.
Yeah,
so
French
she's
for
refined,
nightmare.
She uses French. Mm-hmm. Second part, lilacs, the season has changed, it's April. August mentioned, so heat maybe. She's old.
Well, I think
doesn't...
on rereading, I think it's 2 different parts.
Within
2 different
2.
seasons in
yeah,
that one.
Within part 2. So he doesn't know how to respond to her. Hyacinths are mentioned again. He really likes hyacinths. He's mentioned it.
I think he generally likes flowers. Yeah. He mentioned flowers.
Change of season again. October night. He's going to Cambridge. She wants to maintain the relationship. It's dark, candles in the beginning. So dark is mentioned, and then you have the light of the candles in the beginning. So there's a bit of a contrast, right? Serving tea to friends. Dancing bear, parrot 8 on hands and knees. I didn't know where that was going or whatever. Or where
I think that's a powerful image. He's coming up the stairs, and he's saying, well, he's come up the stairs, and man, oh man, it felt as though I crawled up those stairs on my hands and knees. He says mounted on my hands and knees, and he doesn't want to be there, right?
So he's, I don't know. What I'm getting from that is he's feeling like her entertainment, like a dancing bear or a parrot. A lot of salon ladies kept parrots.
Well, I think that's a good read. Yep.
But and ape, just like
we say you're aping something.
Yeah,
when you're
pretending or whatever. Acting. So that's my guess on what that's about. But
yeah, that's very good.
I don't know.
Well, that's obviously what it's about.
So gray, yellow, and rose. So those are the colors at the end. And that's all I wrote down for notes.
Oh yeah.
So, my notes were not great.
The funny thing is, of the stuff that gets anthologized in Eliot's oeuvre, it's almost always Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock from that first volume. They'll have a few from the second volume. Always has to be The Wasteland. And then I don't know why, I think it's because he moved into more and more into free verse. They have to have Ash Wednesday, maybe, one of the 4 quartets, which are generally pretty awful, and that's about it, you know. But if you're going to have one from that first volume, from the 1970 volume, 17, Prufrock and Other Observations, I think the better one, although they're both awesome, is this portrait of a lady. Why is that? Because...
Well, it's a great portrait. I wouldn't say that it's a great portrait of her necessarily, even though, I mean, you get an idea of what she's thinking and stuff like that, certainly, by what she's saying, and you get an idea of who she is. But it really is a great portrait of himself.
Yeah. See, it's like a group portrait.
Yeah.
Group portrait. It doesn't talk about that. And a lot of people say, "Oh, these are dramatic monologues. They're not T.S. Eliot." They're T.S. Eliot. Come on, wake up and smell the coffee. You know,
I mean, I've read some before, and you can tell that they don't seem like the person. But here, I mean, when you read through, and you go through one after another like this, then you get the sense, oh, this seems like the same person, or whatever, right? So
in one of the key passages in Prufrock, it's, "No, I am not Prince Hamlet." In other words, I'm not a procrastinator, nor was meant to be. I am an attendant lord, one that will do to start a progress, swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt of easy tool, deferential, cautious, politic, full of high sentence. I probably missed a little bit out, but a bit obtuse. Sometimes indeed ridiculous, almost at times a fool. You know, like, he's Polonius. Now, what's the thing about Polonius? He's full of high sentence. But he's the one who says, famously or infamously, "Neither a borrower nor a lender be." He's full of all sorts of proverbs. And I'm afraid T.S. Eliot realized that that's largely what he was like. Now, I've said before, and I'm sure it's a mistake, that he was a teller in a bank, but I think he was a clerk in a bank, something a little bit higher than that. But that's all he did, you know, like, he was a pencil pusher, I gather, for all of his working life. He wasn't even a professor. He was kind of like a pencil pusher. And he'd be very, very passive aggressive. See, that's what's in the second one, right? The passive aggressiveness. You know, he doesn't say what he's feeling. He's acting like you say, but he's basically, he says, there's one line, "For things to be said and to be left unsaid." It's what she'll be saying and largely what he's not saying, except let us take the air. I don't think he's maybe thinking that, maybe saying it, let us take the air, and probably he's thinking in a tobacco trance or whatever. You know, he's very, very restrained emotionally. I don't think he's a procrastinator. He's just, you know, like, he doesn't know how to say to this woman, "That's enough," you know, like, I really don't want to hang with you or whatever.
This is going nowhere. You're having some ideas of some big romance beginning, and it's not.
Possibly. Yeah. You just don't know. She seems to be much older than T.S. Eliot, but he's talking about the atmosphere of Juliet's tomb, you know, like,
well, she may not
being
be
cast as
much
Romeo.
older.
She may not be. She might be sickly, you know.
Well, and
there's talk of death.
She may not be much older either. I mean, you don't know what his tastes were in terms of women, especially at that point. A lot of people like younger women, and anybody who's over the hill a little bit. What did people used to say? A woman was over the hill when she was 20. It was 20 something. I can't remember what it was. It was not that old.
Well, one of the creepiest things I ever read was, keep going, finish your thought. It was it's a whole 2 chapters, basically, or 3. It was in her time, maybe the most prestigious groupie, speaking of groupies, in rock and roll. in 1969, morphing it in 1970. So in 1969, kind of glitching on her name, it was anyway. 69, the Rolling Stones were touring the United States, so were Led Zeppelin, and she had the distinction of being the groupie of note, kind of like for Jimmy Page and Mick Jagger in the same year. Of course, well, Mick Jagger was trying to score her, and she said, "I'm saving myself for Jimmy." That's okay. He's still quite young, you know. And Mick Jagger got kind of catty. Oh, you know, like Kansas City or something like that. She's really from Reseda, the northern part of Los Angeles, basically. Making some sort of comment about her being Midwestern. He should have, you know, like if he's going around offering his services to this, that, and the other person, he better be able to take it a little bit more. You know, like Jim Morrison. One time the Doors were in a restaurant, and he asked the waitress out for a date, and she said, "I'm married," and he says, "Can't blame me for trying." You know, that's if a person's going to be that way, they'd better have a you know, not be so catty. Poor Mick Jagger. Miss Kansas City or something like that. But at any rate, that was when she was, I believe, 20. She turns 21, and she's working in England, of all places, in a dance place where the male, well, it was more like the women dance partners would take the men off to the sidelines and kind of service them manually, shall we say. So just,
yeah.
You know, I guess she was doing that for money or something like that. Yeah, so being, you know, the most sought after woman in the rock world, kind of glitching on the name of Pamela Desbars, or Debar, really, her. And that's, I can't remember what her maiden name was like. She married a wannabe rock and roll star or something like that called Michael Desbar, or Desbars, or however they mispronounce the name. I've just seen it written in writing. So, yeah, talking a lot about groupies and stuff like that. Anyway, the thing is, what you've got in this second poem is you've got two voices, whereas really in the first poem, the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, you've really got only one voice. And to be able to capture voices of very different voices, God,
It's
just itched it. Anyway, I was going to itch my eye and I just missed it. Oh well.
Two voices.
Two voices, and it's tough to capture another person's voice. You know, like he's basically capturing his own voice, from what I can read in the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. It's a slightly different attitude, but it's still his voice in Portrait of a Lady. But the real achievement although Pauline says it's mainly about him in the Portrait of a Lady, the real achievement is capturing this. Kind of like the accents of the woman. You'll notice like she repeats a lot, but not so much that it's like where you say, well, that's because he's weak. It's because she's kind of weak. You notice the repetition.
Well,